Please for a dream to die. To rely on yourself in no way. Believe.
Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday. I say it's Tuesday. We are about to embark on quite the journey this morning. Um, and the real reason we're doing this is to stop people from trying to get from the book, the Bible, what they want versus what is said. This is going to be like a whole week of this because I think it's become so normal now for people to just have a viewpoint and go into the Bible and just do it. Just take their viewpoint, plant it on the Bible, and say, "See, the Bible confirms my viewpoint." It doesn't, but they will find all kinds of gymnastics to make it work. Case in point, um, Miss Anita. Her last name is Phillips, by the way. Anita Philips. She's a protege, if you will, of T.D. Jakes. Um, Works at Potter House, and she's supposedly a psychiatrist, psychologist, kind of mental coach kind of thing. And as we discussed before about what um, mental health really is and what we sometimes prescribe it as, many people can take a unbiblical approach, supplant it in the book, and say the Bible confirms some stuff. Um, Even going so far as to say they know that's what it means. And you'll hear that. Um, you'll hear that today. Um, she's not that big of a name right now, but I can tell you that what she's saying, she will eventually gain traction because what she's saying will make people feel verified in their behavior and in their mindset because it's appealing. Let's be honest, what she's saying is going to be appealing. So let's listen to her real quick, and we'll also go into the verses that she references. Okay, all right.
Touching the righteousness that it was in the law, he said he was blameless. That means he broke no rules. So how does Paul go from a Pharisee who broke no rules to partying? What sin is he committing? How did that happen? He was perfectly behaved. And now, after Jesus knocks him off his horse, he's blind, he gets diverted, all of this stuff. He is like essentially the replacement of Judas. He's the 12th apostle. He's hiding out, he's being beaten, he's standing up for the Lord, he's doing all of these things. He never broke a rule, and now he out here like shooting up or sleeping around. Like, that's hard for me to believe. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I believe that Paul's battle was internal. I believe that it was. I believe he was anxious, and that's why he wrote about anxiety. I believe that he was very stressed because he did not commit acts of sin, but he was in a wrestling match with his body all the time. Has anybody ever wrestled with their own body to do what you wanted to do or not do what you didn't want to do? Some of us wrestle and lose against cheesecake regularly. But you're looking down your nose at someone who can't get off heroin? You can't get off cheesecake. Am I wrong? Some of our problem with mental health in the church and mental illness is that we are judgmental.
Let's tackle a few things before we go any further. None of what she said, as far as Paul goes, is correct. Let's just get that out the way first. And she'll go and double down on that whole Paul thing in a minute. But the correlation between cheesecake and heroin, trying to differentiate between the two is nonsensical to begin with, because they both can be addictions, and they both can be hard to break. You act as though shedding the addiction to sweets and sugars is as that much easier than heroin. Because there are people that became quite dependent on food. If you want to go this mental route, let's go your mental route. There are tons of people that have become addicted to food through trauma, and they use food as a drug. And it is just as hard, if not harder, for them to shake cheesecake as it is for a heroin addict to shake heroin. You see, when you trivialize others just to exemplify something that you consider worse, that makes no sense. See, you're telling somebody because they eat cheesecake, you shouldn't speak on someone who's doing heroin because you're eating cheesecake. That's like saying, well, you can't talk about pedophilia because you ain't never been attracted to a child. Wait until you're attracted to a child, and then you'll see how hard it is to not go through with your sin. Right now, you're just attracted to regular people. And since you're not attracted to a child, you can't speak on that. That's judging. You see, when you make a stupid correlation, you end up with more stupid correlations to counter it. But it sounds really good, because you can get a laugh out of the audience and you can get them to agree with you because it's something stupid and the people you're talking to are just as dumb as you. You can make a really dumb analogy, a stupid correlation, and the people will say, oh, that sounds really good. That is deep. Oh my gosh, that's deep. If you step into a sewer and it's full, it's deep too. That's really deep. That doesn't mean it makes sense, nor is it healthy, but it's deep, real deep. We'll go into her verse picking in a minute here, because I want her to make sure she completely digs that grave that she has going. Right now, she just picked up the shovel and she broke ground. She's about to go diving straight into the floor with the next few statements. She's going to just wait. Just wait.
And we don't see ourselves. Some of you have been trying to take some small change, some small, I'll say small, non-destructive change for years.
Remember that. Remember that statement. Non-destructive change. You want to have a non-destructive habit. You're trying to shake a non-destructive habit. Okay? Be sure you remember that word non-destructive that she used, not me. She used. Okay? Good.
And we still are unhealthily overweight, or eating the wrong stuff, or staying up too late watching TV, whatever little stuff that we could be better, and we still haven't pulled it off. And someone is addicted to something that has changed the chemistry of their brain.
Sugar does the same thing. Staying up too late does the same thing. They're all destructive habits. Being overweight is destructive to the body. The bones cannot handle it. Your lungs cannot handle it. Your heart can't handle it. It's all destructive. You see, people like to quantify, and this is the problem, right? You quantify a certain type of sin. It's okay because you have a small thing to change. These are how people come to God and say, well, I don't have that much to change for God because I'm normally a very good person. I'm good. I'm a good person. I only have a few little things to worry about. Like I might stay up too late and I might watch the wrong things, but those aren't life-changing, nor are they detrimental to my salvation. I'm fine. At least I'm not like, you ever give a 2-year-old sugar? An otherwise docile child, just give them sugar. Watch that entire body react to the sugar and see how much destruction happens if you feed that kid sugar for the rest of its life. Just sugar, not heroin, not crack, just sugar. Give them sugar. See if it doesn't alter their mind and their body and their bone density. See if it doesn't do it. In fact, here's another test. Just give them a little bit of pornography. Just introduce gluttony, sexual immorality, or drug abuse. Introduce any of those. It doesn't matter how small of a quantity or the type. Just introduce it. I'm sure it will do nothing. It's only a small sin. You guys worry about your cheesecake and you stay up too late and you don't eat the right things. Hey, look, at least you're not hooked on heroin, you judgmental so-and-so. You ever ask somebody who has been using food, or even, let's stick with food, as a coping mechanism for avoiding something? Say they go through a divorce, male or female. This is not a woman thing, so don't jump on my back. You go through a divorce, or you lose a loved one, and you decide food is your comfort. And every time stress comes along and you start to remember, you indulge in food. You don't pray. You don't bring it to the throne. You eat. Or say, for instance, you go through a divorce and you go gamble. Or you go through a divorce and you don't eat. All of those things affect you negatively because all of them avoid the very premise that you should be going to, which is to the throne. Whether it be heroin or sugar, it's the exact same thing. There is no differentiation because they are all methods to avoid dealing with God one-on-one. But we quantify, and we love to quantify. We love it. We love that quantification. Hey man, this is different and this is different. This is worse than that. Is if anything is keeping you from delivering yourself to the throne, it is destructive. Plain and simple. This has nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, to do with how hard it is to dodge heroin versus sugar. Because if you want to mention one, destructive, and two, chemicals, they both affect you. You can crash with sugar and you can rise with sugar. You can crash with heroin and you can rise with heroin. It's the exact same thing. But continue, my lady.
And we're just like, they just don't want to be better. They just want to be in those streets. What? We're a little judgmental, aren't we? The Bible says if you're not faithful over little things, you won't be faithful over much. You're not even faithful over cheesecake. God help you if you get addicted to drugs. So some of our stuff is just a little judgmental.
Do you see? Do you see what I mean? You trivialize someone else's pain because you consider a different pain and handling of that pain more consequential and important. This is what happens when you decide how severe sin is. And this is also how you bring people in to a state and mindset that you're good as long as you're not here. You're okay if you're just dealing with cheesecake, but understand that, that just don't judge other people that don't have it as easy as you. But as soon as you start dealing with heroin, that's dangerous, and we need to really, really, really bring them in really gently and calmly, and understand that they're having a hard time. They're dealing with so much. Don't judge them, but I'll judge you and your cheesecake because you're using cheesecake. That's so stupid. It's not even worth it. Cheesecake's not an addiction. You can't even shake cheesecake. What kind of human are you? Never mind the reason I'm using cheesecake. Never mind why I'm in the state I'm in. Never mind that. Forget that. When it's all an avoidance of God, everything's the same. They're all an avoidance of God. They're all an unwillingness to bring it before the throne. All of it. But I'm judging the other person because they have heroin and I have cheesecake. And one's better than the other. Gotcha.
So Paul is struggling with this internal thing. I also believe that it was anxiety for another reason. Thorns.
Listen to this stupid.
When Adam and Eve fell, the ground changed. That ground is representative of our bodies.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Like, not even in the least. Not even in the least. Does it have to do with your body? Do you see what I mean by when you try to push a point to get your narrative across, you will use something that has nothing to do with your narrative, but try to paint it as though it's your narrative by making it sound really plausible. Because she set them up. She set them up. And now she's going to break it into their minds that hey, this is what it means. Listen carefully.
Paul is struggling with this internal thing. I also believe that it was anxiety for another reason. Thorns. When Adam and Eve fell, the ground changed. That ground is representative of our bodies. We were made from the ground. And the ground gave up thorns. And then we see those same thorns in Matthew chapter 13 in the parable of the sower. Jesus talks about the thorny ground. Everything that happened in the fall to the ground is in the parable of the sower. Yeah, let's have a little Bible fun. Genesis chapter 1, remember on the day he made the plants. I know you're about to say on the day, I thought I was going to say on the day he made man, right? Because we're so focused on ourselves. It's another reason why we don't understand God. When we try to understand us, we go straight to Genesis 1:26. But why don't we go to 1:1? If we don't understand how God and who he is as creator, we're not concerned about that, just about us. But anyway, if we're going back to Genesis 1 and we get down to the first life he ever created, it was plants. And he had three kinds of plants: grass, herb-bearing seed, which were like crops, and fruit trees. Three plants all growing from the same ground. And he had called that ground what? Good. Now,
Here, like I said, when I'm trying really hard, people. I'm trying not to. I'm trying really hard. Yeah, trying really hard. The ground was cursed because Adam was in charge of it to begin with. He was in charge of all of that. And because he was still left in charge, his chore became harder because he ignored his very biggest charge, which is to lead. The thorns, the hard ground, all of that was talking about the heart of a person, not the flesh, the heart. Some will be accepting of the word, some will reject the word, some will take it and then it'll just dissipate from them. And then others, they'll be so fertile in the heart that they will take it and they will latch on to it and be saved. But when you are trying to make an example the way you want it, you are going to skew things to make it sound like what you're saying is the way it should be. It gets worse. I mean it, it gets worse.
Adam and Eve fall. The seed, I believe the seed from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, when it fell into the ground, it changed the ground.
You see? You see that? You see that? I believe that the seed, when it fell from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, it contaminated the ground. Where in scripture is that? Please, somebody show me where it ever talked about the seeds from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil fell into the ground and contaminated. Show me where. I don't care where, anywhere in the book, anywhere. What you believe has very little to what is said, very little to do with what is said. In fact, it has nothing to do with what is said. You just believe that the seeds fell into the ground and then, oh, ground was cursed. No, clown. He literally said it to Adam. Because of what you did, cursed will be the ground. The action of Adam cursed the earth, not the seed from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's right in the book, the same one you're quoting from. You know, some of these people, they anger me to the point of wow. I told you she was digging a hole, right? Okay, here we go.
The ground is cursed. It's barren. No more grass. In your sweat of your brow, Adam, you will bake bread, which means you'll have to grow this stuff and then grind it into bread. It's going to be hard to grow. So there go my herb-bearing seed plants, my crops. And we know what happened to the tree because they ate the wrong one. And the Bible says that the ground stopped giving fruit. It started giving thorns and thistles. Now we get to the parable of the sower. Instead of 3 good plants growing in one land, we see that same ground. We see wayside soil, barren, nothing's growing. We see a plant try to grow in the heat, in the sweaty weather.
Wayside soil does not mean barren. Wayside soil has all kinds of weeds in it. Wayside soil allows for anything to grow there or nothing to grow. It is uncontrolled, unmanaged, uncared for, unkempt, ignored. Wayside soil has nothing to do with barren. But when you try to make your point so deep that you entered into the sewer, you get this lady.
In the sweat of his brow kind of grow, and it dies in the sun. And we see a tree try to grow, but what happens? Thorns choke it. That parable of the sower is taking us back to what happened at the fall.
No, it didn't.
Jesus is giving us insight into the fall.
No, he's not.
And then what does Jesus say those thorns represent? The cares and anxieties of this world. And then Jesus dies on the cross for us. And what does he? But a crown of thorns pressed into his head. He died for your anxiety. That's why he had it.
Oh, my word. So the crown of thorns was representative of him dying for your anxiety. You know, I understand they're all over the place, right? People like this are everywhere. But come on, man. Come on, man. The crown of thorns. Hold on. She said the crown of thorns was representative of him dying for your anxiety. You hear something new every day, I guess. Oh my God. Wait till you hear what she says next. Just wait till you hear what she says next. Then we'll go into the book. Just here it goes. You ready? I don't know if you're ready. Here we go.
A crown of thorns on his head. And then after his death, but how come? No, here's the good part. After his death, he's dead and resurrected. But guess where the thorn showed up? Paul said, I have a thorn in my side. The earlier translations of that word thorn, and particularly in the Thayer Bible, is unquietness. I have a thorn in my side. And I've asked God 3 times to remove it. And he said, your grace is sufficient. So even though Jesus died for it, oh, y'all was liking that. Y'all were liking that. That thorn showed up in Paul's side.
Do you realize what she just said? She just told him Jesus died for your anxiety, but that don't mean that the anxiety ain't going to just still be there. And that the thorn in his side, Paul's side, was anxiety. So let's do some things here. Let's wow. Anyway, let's put things into what context they should be, okay? Law cannot save from sin. Has then what is good become death to me? Certainly not. But sin, that it might appear sin, was producing death in me through what is good, so that sin, through the commandment, might become exceedingly sinful. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. Adam. For I am doing, and this is not him, he's not being singular in his description. Paul is not being singular in his description. He's being general in his description. The I statement is not him, it's mankind. Because he's saying, for we know that the law is spiritual. For what I am doing, I do not understand. It's not just him, it's man in general. They do what they don't understand. For what I will to do, that I do not practice, but what I hate, that I do. You find that before you encounter what he says at the end of this entire diatribe. People jump right into the middle of this and don't realize he has a culminative point at the end of it that tells you everything you need to know about this struggle. Everything you need to know about the struggle that he is describing, he summates at the end of this statement if you would read it all the way through. That's like, I remember I told you about that elephant analogy from Sesame Street. This is how people take this verse. They go to the verse and they go there with hoping to find instructions. And they read the first part and they just say, that's what it means. They're like that elephant on Sesame Street. And it's not Snuffleupagus. I mean, there's a cartoon. They have, you remember the old Sesame Street, where they would have these little cartoon segments in between each of the scenes and stuff. Anyway, this was one of those. Man sitting on the bench, and this elephant walks over to him and says, I'm trying to get to the zoo. Can you give me directions? The man says, yeah. Go, and the elephant takes off. Elephant comes back again. Go where? Go over. Okay, go over. And he takes off again. And he comes right back. Go over what? Go over the. Goes again. Comes on back. And the man says, if you're not going to listen, I can't give you directions. You keep taking off and coming back to ask the same stupid stuff. Wait for the actual answer before you leave next time. Those are these people. They will read partial through and get something. Oh, that means that. That means that. They don't finish the whole thought process. If then I do what I will not to do, I agree with the law that it is good. But now it is no longer I who do it, but the sin that dwells in me. For I know that in me, that is in my flesh, nothing good dwells. For to will is present with me, but how to perform what is good I do not find in the flesh. For the good that I will to do, I do not do, but the evil I will to do, that I practice. And if you've encountered that, you are now seeing the dichotomy between the law of sin and God's law, where they're both at war with each other, And one's telling you this is their life, and one's telling you this is death. Now, if I do what I will not to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it is sin that dwells in me. So let's go past that. Okay? I find then a law that evil is present with me, the one who wills to do good. For I delight in the law of God according to the inward man, but I see another law in my members warring against the law of my mind and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death? I thank God through Jesus Christ our Lord. So then, with the mind, I myself serve the law of God, but with the flesh, the law of sin. Her entire premise is based on a misinterpretation and an inability to finish off what Paul was saying. Because in her world, you have to reside in the flesh. And since you reside in the flesh, there is nothing you can do about it. And we not to judge people who are struggling with something that they can't overcome. Because even Paul, look at that, even Paul. Meanwhile, Paul at the end of it says that there is a way, and it's through Jesus Christ. Whether it be cheesecake or heroin, through Jesus Christ. Either way, there's a war. My body wants cheesecake or my body wants heroin. Either one, my flesh wants it, and it is not my spirit. It is not God's law that wants the cheesecake or the heroin. It is the flesh. They're one and the same. You might consider it more important to look at someone with heroin versus cheesecake. That doesn't mean that that's the way it is. That's just what you want. As for the thorn in his side, this whole concept that Paul was anxious about stuff. And that is why he said, be anxious and all that stuff. Be anxious and do not. Understand this. Telling somebody the negative thing not to do does not mean you struggle with it. I don't understand how these people make these correlations and just brand people a certain way. I don't understand how they do it. Since we don't know what that thorn in his side was, physical or otherwise, we just say it was a thorn. And we know that his statement was, I wish he would take it away, but even if he doesn't, he said his grace is sufficient. Do you see how little attention Paul paid to that thorn? It's there. Obvious. You take it? No. Grace is sufficient. Gotcha. Paul never speaks of it again. He never mentions it. You don't read about it anywhere else. You don't see him asking the second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh time to get it gone. He got his answer. My grace is sufficient. He was done with it. Whether it affected him or not, he was done paying attention to that thorn. The greatest thing about her statement is that we are judgmental, right? That's what she said. We're judgmental because we look at people like that have a heroin addiction and say they should stop while I just have a cheesecake. That's judging in reverse, right? Or you're still judging me because you think my cheesecake addiction is trivial. I should be able to stop eating cheesecake at any point in time. It's just stupid cheesecake, man. Come on. Isn't that judging? Isn't that being judgmental? I mean, by your standards, of course. I'm just saying it's not judging to me to tell somebody they need to get off heroin. But by your definition, that's judging because I view their problem as smaller than mine. while you're viewing my cheesecake as smaller than someone else's. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. And you can't make it make sense, but you can definitely try to make it make sense. I could go into all of the chemical makeups of the foods we eat versus the chemical makeup of the drugs people consume, and you'll probably find some of the same chemicals, and you'll find 90% of it the same reactions in the body. If you want to go by chemical, it all starts though by choice. It all starts with choice, and that's exactly how it will end. If I chose to use food as my avenue to deal with my stress and my sin, it becomes a new level of sin for me. If I choose sex, same thing. If I choose heroin, same thing. My choice from after indulging in that is to choose to leave it and hand it off to God. That's a choice. And I can choose to go back and pick it up. Everybody knows the addictive quality of heroin. Everybody knows the addictive qualities of sugar, MSG. There are tons of things that are addictive, that are really hard to shake. Heck, I know people that can't put down diet soda. Not because it really is addictive to them, but in their mind, they think they're doing their body something good by not having regular. And because it's not regular, they actually do double the amount of the drink because it's not sugar. Not including all the other additives that's in it, but they don't care about that. It's not sugar. Their mind is placed on the things of the flesh. They have not placed their mind on the things of the spirit. In her world, we must focus on the things of the flesh. Why? Actions. In her world, the action of a person is the pivotal thing. Not what caused the action, the action. And if my action is more egregious than what you think another one is, I'm in a worse place than the other person. And if it's less, I am better off than the other person. Not realizing that my mind is not set on the things of the spirit, so regardless of how big or small my actions are, it's still misplaced. And I'm still going to end up the same place if I continue. But hey, some people love to make things about them. Some people love to make things about what they want to push. And just like with TD Jakes, this gospel of man is getting more and more invasive into the church. Thank you, Nadia. It's getting more and more invasive. They will start putting the premise and pretext of man stuff over that which is God said, and they will make it the gospel. See, you come to God, and God makes you prosperous, happy, and healthy. They don't come to God because they realize their state before Him, their lack, and their destination without Him. They don't come for that. They come for the perks. And when you come to God for perks and you go through just a single moment of hardship where He tests your faith, all of a sudden you find those people questioning God, not their faith, God. Why are you letting me go through this? Why is He putting me through this? Why is God? Why is God? Why is God? Not thank you, God, that you're testing my faith. Not, I trust you, God, even in this. No, it's the complete opposite. It's God's fault. Be wary of people who teach a different doctrine because they make it sound really good. Now, if you were just a regular Joe Schmo, what she is saying would sound amazing. It would. It would sound exactly like you want to feel. Like you feel accepted, you feel great, you're there. I only have a few things to adjust, and I only have a few things to adjust. Jesus died for my mental health. Oh, amazing. That's what the crowns were. And oh yeah, because sometimes I do feel as though my mind is just hurting and everything in my head is just not making sense. So when Jesus died and put that crown on, he was putting on my anxiety. And when he was whipped, that was him losing weight for my insecurities. And when they gave him vinegar and water, it's my drinking. That's what he's trying to address is my drinking there. And when he was silent before the Pilate, it was because he was trying to tell me to be still. Not that he died because I owed a debt I could not pay. Not that he died because I was in a state of distance from my creator. No. Not that I was on my way to the grave and hell, and Jesus intervened and paid that price so I wouldn't have to, if only I would follow. No. Not that I cannot live my life and his life. I have to live just his. Not that. No. I'm not that bad. I have one or two things that God needs to look at, but everything else, I'm good. That's what this gospel is telling people. And understand that people who do heroin, you have to look at them the way God looks at them. It's just a heroin addiction, and that's all they have wrong with them, but they'll be okay. It's a chemical thing, okay? And God died for your chemical stuff. Bruh. Ain't that crazy? To me, that's just insane to me. But hey, it's the new age thing. You are enough. God recognizes you're enough, and he will treat you like you're enough. Don't worry about it. Just realize you're enough. And don't judge other people that you think are not enough because they may be more than enough than you are. You can't even handle cheesecake. They're dealing with heroin. Try handling heroin. See how good you do. That's like telling somebody, oh, you only just think of sex. Try having it every day and see how you do. In any case, some people just need to just be, well, we know they're going to get the most activity. I don't know, man. I don't know what's wrong, what's going on with well, I do know what's going on with evangelism today. It's dead. Evangelism is dead. You have a whole new crew of people that are saying all kinds of crazy stuff that makes no sense, but sounds really good to the ear. This week is going to get progressively worse when it comes to that. Because tomorrow we're going to be hearing, I think, no, it's not going to get progressive. It's going to culminate tomorrow and then kind of slip off on Thursday. But tomorrow, you are going to hear one of the most blasphemous things you will ever hear on the internet. And that is that Jesus is, in fact, Lucifer. I'll have you listen to what they say. You can make your own assessment about it. We'll compare it to what is said in the book, and we'll go from there. So just be prepared for that, because it's gonna get bad. We'll talk about that. It is going around, and I'll show you how many channels are talking about it. Okay. Anyway, last night we had to cancel Too Strong. Can't go into why. Just know that we had to cancel it, and we'll be dropping a couple more very informative videos later this week. So just keep a lookout for that on Too Strong. Tomorrow, of course, we'll be back on Savage Patriots. There wouldn't be anything else today. I'm sorry for everyone who's been looking for self-defense videos. I have not had time. Things have kind of changed around and where I can do my stuff and record. And so that's all been changed, and I have to find a brand new location for all of that. So it's interesting right now. So that's on a different plane right now. So don't judge me too harshly. Okay, please don't judge me too harshly. I am trying to get done what needs to done. Okay. I'm going to show you what I mean real quick about tomorrow's topic. This is when you look it up. Find Jesus is Satan in Kindle books on Amazon. Is Jesus really Lucifer? Is Jesus Baal? Jesus Christ is Lucifer. Jesus is Lucifer. Could God in the Bible really be Satan? I've covered this moron before, Billy Carson. You talk about a blasphemous fool. That's a blasphemous fool. 4 facts Jesus shared about Satan that many don't know. Lucifer versus Satan, by the way, he's also the one that says he is, and Lucifer is the hero. It is on and on and on and on and on. So we'll talk about it, and we'll see if there's any merit to their claim. I understand there's no merit to their claim, but we'll break it down fully so people have no equivocations about it, okay? Indeed. So, scrolling at the bottom, if it's something that you want to do, want to help with, want to contribute to, first consult God, then do what he says. Yes or no. If it's yes, there are your options for doing it, PayPal and Cash App. And if you need to email me, this is my email, straighttalkmb@outlook.com. The event, we are now starting to get into the planning phase of hotels and stuff like that. So I'm going to be going out this next month to the hotels around and find out if they can give group discounts to people coming in. But I think I have to have a specific number for them. Right now, there are only 15 of you signed up. So if you have not signed up yet for the family event next year, please do that. Please go do that. So I can have a better idea of what to tell the places around here about sizes and try and get a group rate somewhere. I think they can block off for a certain period of time for a certain amount of people. So if by November, middle November, end of November, that you're going to go, let me know, and I'll make sure I give them a number. And for all we know, we might be able to book the entire hotel for a nice discounted price for everyone and just kind of pool the resources. It's whatever we got to make happen. And if you don't feel comfortable in staying at a hotel, let me know by email so I can find a location for you and your family that's more like a house or something that you can stay in. I know some people are very leery about hotels. I get it. I am that way too. And if you feel like you need to stay with somebody, I have a bunch of people here that are more than willing to put you up. So about a couple of months before the event, I would say that would be the deadline. A couple of months. I'm going to shut everything down like in May. In the May, I think the end of May is when I'll shut it down. So it's already been 4 months. Okay, 3 months. So be careful. The time is just going. Okay, it's gonna be here before you know it, and then you'll be like, I didn't have time. I gave you a whole year. Whole year. Okay, don't say you didn't have time. Yeah. So we'll deal with that. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. Stay away from these people that you saw today. They are dangerous people. Tell others to stay away as well. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow morning, and for Savage Patriots as well. Y'all take care. Love you. Mean it. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. So please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself and no way